You're now listening to the show about the shit in life that's just a bit too much, from the perspective of stand-up comics. With our host, Carmelo Bongiovi. This week's topic, Funny How. With our guest, Tracey Carnazzo. This is A Bit Too Much.
And they're not the same. Stand-up funny is not the same as this at all.
No, it's,
you know what
it's
I mean?
very much so not podcast funny.
But there's a lot of people who don't, they kind of can't do both. Like they either bring stand-up to a podcast and it sounds like they're doing their bits, or they, the other way around. There's a lot of content creators.
Well, people are podcasters, people
are
are stand-up. I mean, it doesn't always translate. That is something that I have learned podcasting for about 10 years now.
And it sounds to me like when I hear, okay, I'm a stand-up and I could do the talk thing, like that sounds like that kind of makes a little more sense. I know I have to switch a gear. You've seen that. We've also seen then content creators, some of which I believe you work with, right? Who've made like the meaningful shift to stand-up. And we've also seen some people not do it well, but not make the shift correctly or they didn't have the stand-up thing. But then there's some that are fucking killing it. They were like, TikTok stars, and now
it depends on what you really want. I've had people that are huge on social media and they're content creators and they're like, okay, I need stand up. Can you write it for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I guess, but like, also, do you want to do stand up? Because like, that's kind of the point of stand up.
It's the whole point.
So obviously you're like, if you're just looking for a cash grab, then I guess you could hire someone to write for you. But like, if not, like, where is your voice?
I've met so many people that are not comics though, that say things like when they're talking about the bigger comics that they know of, they're always like, oh, but I've heard so many people say this, but they have writers. I'm like, maybe at a certain level, some people have writers that help them out. But if a good stand-up's always going to write their own shit, or the majority of it.
I mean, you have a point of view.
Right. Yeah. But that's not a person someone who's saying that to you. I don't think is a person who understands, it's like a check. Either it's a checklist.
Well, that's how you know it's not going to go well.
Yeah. Yeah.
When they're just like, hey, can you write my set from top to bottom? Kind of try to write it in my voice. It's like, ooh, I mean, sure. But like, what's your long-term plan here?
Maybe as a writer, you have the ability to switch voices, but as a performer, the other thing about it is like so much of this game is working it out on stage. It's not just a perfect joke.
Yeah, but that's not. They don't get it. They think it's just a monologue.
Well, they'll get it when they bomb.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The other part of that is sometimes they don't get it when they bomb. You also have to be self-aware to know that you bombed.
Well, true. There's also a lot of people who write their own shit who don't get it when they bombed.
We all have those friends that go on stage and they're not doing great. God bless. And they get off and they're like, yo, I crushed. And you're like, something happened. Definitely something happened while you were on stage. But
yeah, why don't you be a real comic and blame the audience?
Hey, that's what I do.
Right. Me too.
I'm like, that's a pretty bad crowd. I will tell you this though. There is a comic. Do you know Mike Britt?
Yeah.
Okay. Mike Britt is the kind of comic that can definitely make you, not on purpose, think that maybe you should stop doing stand-up comedy. So I do a lot of shows at New York Comedy Club, and Mike Britt closes a lot of those shows. And there will be shows where I'm hosting the show. I cannot get the audience, right? They're chatty, they're drunk, it's late, whatever the reasons are, it just never really comes together. And every comic really doesn't do great. And I'm like, oh, what a terrible crowd.
Yeah.
And Mike Britt, 11 times out of 10, goes on stage.
Yeah.
He destroys harder than probably any comic I've ever seen in the history of the world.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm just bad at comedy. I should stop this.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think I'm going to tell every comic that was on the lineup they should also stop. And that's the kind of comic that you're like, that's what I need to be like. And until I'm that comic, I'm not good.
Let's make this like an AA thing where we all decide we're in the same boat together. We'll sponsor each other in our comedy retirement.
Guys, this is a group chat for the 8:00 show at New York Comedy Club last Friday night. You all need to quit. I'm going to be quitting. You all need to quit too.
Yeah. Sometimes too, I mean, these are like, of course, like intricacies that, in terms of like crowds and how you hit with a crowd that's not, but like stand up, New York Comedy Club is also in a location where I feel like you get such an abundance of drunk people. Like you get such like, I mean, it's New York City, of course.
Yeah. I mean,
but,
I don't know. I don't know if it's like unique to that at all.
Well, I mean, I guess it's definitely the case of Manhattan, but I feel like you get a lot of like, you know, if you're doing a Friday night show, you get a lot. I think you get a lot of younger, like
It really depends. I can't necessarily say that that's true.
Maybe the time of the time.
It depends on the time of the year. It depends on the time of the show. It depends on the location of the show.
Right.
Because New York Comedy Club has 3 different places.
Oh yeah.
And you get 3 different crowds in all of those places.
For sure. Yeah. I'm referring to the 3rd Avenue, you know, 24th.
24th Street. That's the Midtown location. Yeah. It's a lot of tourists. It's not a lot of young people.
Yeah.
There's more young people in the East Village location.
Mm-hmm. And you get, and you know, and then it takes sometimes like a drunk crowd or not good crowd for whatever reason it is, like it does take sometimes a certain comic to hit that certain, it's like you almost have to hit a wavelength with the crowd sometimes. Like they're in a different plane, you're like talking in a multiversal, like you're in another place and you're just not reaching, and then that person comes in on that wavelength or could find it because they're skilled enough, can find that wavelength, and all of a sudden and that's the thing about like what you would say.
Mike Britt will get on stage and go, "Hey, how are you guys doing?" And the crowd goes wild and you're like, what just happened?
How did that? It's just like a vibe.
What just happened?
Yeah. There's an there's an energy and a presence to some people that you're like, oh, you could fucking say anything and they're going to like you. Even if it's not your best show, they're going to still like you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, once in a while you get a really good crowd and you're like, I'm going to do a joke that never hits.
Yeah.
Let me see what happens. And then they laugh at it and you're like, oh, these people are just dumb. They're laughing at anything I say. That was actually a terrible joke.
Right. I could be doing fucking children's jokes right now. They'd be laughing at this. But you know, that's the thing though, what you were saying about like people who want to get in stand up that don't know it too, is like, well, do you understand how much of that grind is? And the answer is no, they don't understand. But how much of that grind is like working it out. And even when your shit hits at, you know, 8 o'clock and it doesn't hit at 10 o'clock. I mean, how infuriating is that?
Well, that's the skill of everything too, is like knowing your crowd and like adjusting yourself and your energy level and like all these things. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I need to stop doing this.
You know, because comedy obviously takes a lot of forms, but it's like such a different thing with like, I've had this conversation with, you know, TV and film people on the show, and Brian O'Halloran, who's Dante and Clerks. We're talking about the difference between like film comedy and it's like there's obviously benefit, you know, there's not the pressure of this joke has to land right now. If a joke bombs in a movie, you can just go on to the next thing.
Sure.
But there's also this anxiety in film and TV of like not knowing until it airs.
Yeah.
We'll do. Right. So there's also a prolonged anxiety. If you have as much anxiety as a lot of us do in comedy.
What do you mean? I'm fine.
Yeah. Everything's
I feel
fine.
good.
Everything's fine. This, you know, I'm not going to say what time of day it is right now, but I'm drinking.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So like, you know, but it's that's a totally different gear. And there's a lot of stand-ups who talk the other way around, because I feel like we're putting comics on a pedestal right now, but there's also a lot of stand-ups who can't write scripts that try to.
I don't think I could write a script. I would have to really try. Like it would not come naturally to me. That is not how my brain works.
Yeah. It doesn't work in like dialogue like that. Right.
Nope.
Like, yeah.
It's actually very hard for me. That's something that is a very separate skill.
Oh, it's a storytelling, you know, whether or not you can make it funny or dramatic or whatever, storytelling in that way with characters.
I mean, how many times do you see a writer do a stand-up set and you're like, oh, but his movies are great.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And how many times there's a big famous stand-up when they made a movie and you're like,
right, you're like, that was very bad.
Well, it's, you know, it's like the dialogue, no stand up.
Yeah.
How many times have you seen that where it's like, oh, I could see the stand up bit in what you're trying to create in dialogue right now.
It didn't work out.
And everything, you're just using that other character as a setup for all your.
Well, that's like, do you remember the show Comics Unleashed?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they used to just do their bits.
They just do their bits. Yeah.
That is the cringiest show to watch. I can't stop watching it. I love when it's on at like 3 a.m.
It was still on.
No, it's like old
sorry.
reruns.
It's like, but it was a fucking Walmart version of Tough Crowd.
I mean, so much worse than that because it's like
Yeah.
he's just leading
Tried
you
to
into
be.
your bits. So what you do is I think you submit your set and then they tell you what bits you're going to do. And then the host leads you into them. And you have to do your joke for the other 3 people on the show. It's so awkward. And you have to do it in conversation.
You have to do it in conversation, like, you know, and then you could see them trying to find it and trying to,
Yep.
they just keep on throwing their shoulders up because they're trying to make it conversational.
It's so weird.
That is one of the worst things in comedy that has ever happened.
It is, and that's why I love watching it.
You also like TV like that.
I like cringe. I like anything cringe.
You like cringe.
I like making people feel uncomfortable too. That is a thing that I like to do.
You like to do it in your personal life.
Oh yeah.
In what way? Like, how do you fuck?
Okay, you're in the supermarket. You see someone that you know you definitely don't want to talk to, and they don't want to talk to you. But maybe they don't want to talk to you more than you don't want to talk to them.
Got it.
I go say hi.
Yeah, you go say hi to that person.
Hey, how are you?
Oh God, you know, you would that would be like I'd be the person trying to run away from that.
Yeah,
I like cringe sometimes, but in those when I don't want to see someone, I don't want to fuck.
Okay, so you know how like there's people that you really do not enjoy, and if you know that they're going to be at a hang, you're like, you know what? I think I'm going to skip that because I really don't want to see that person.
Yeah.
I'll 100% go because I know that person doesn't want to see me.
That's pretty fucking twisted, actually, and hilarious.
I'm like, I don't.
They
should feel uncomfortable. I'm not going to feel uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, I guess if you're going into it with an awareness of like, oh, I'm doing this almost for the bit. Yeah.
It's not even that. It's just like, I'm not going to, I don't know, step into the background because you're a dick.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, yeah. Like you're not going to not be
right.
in the fence
because, I've done it a million times. And you know what I do? I say, hello. Hello.
Oh, hi, it's me.
Yes, it's me. Remember me?
You also love, you know, you have a few podcasts, right? And one's about reality TV, which I feel like.
Well, all of them are about reality TV.
Well, they're all about reality TV, but specifically, it's trash talk, right?
Yeah, so I have Teen Mom Trash Talk, Catfish Trash Talk, 90 Day Fiance Trash Talk. And then we cover Mob Wives, we cover Real Housewives of New Jersey, we cover Jersey Shore, Vanderpump Rules, we cover Unexpected on TLC. Like we cover a whole bunch of stuff on Patreon. There
have been for a long time I just wasn't like a reality show person. My wife certainly is, and like but she can get me because here's the thing about reality shows, even if you don't like them, if the right episode of 90 Day Fiance hits you, I mean, I am quoting some woman called this guy Colty for I can't like anytime I hear anything like that I'm like
Colton Larissa.
You know, like that kind of shit. Or, you know, the one show though that it's the only one that I am more obsessed with than my wife is, and we watch it together, but I'm like, no, we have to fucking watch, is Love is Blind.
I love Love is Blind. You know, it's coming back. I'm so excited. Or it's already back by the time this airs.
They would never stop a season if they could. They would just roll that fucking
I would never stop a season if I could. But I got to tell you, I'm chasing the high of season 1. And that's why I keep watching. I am chasing that high.
Yeah, they're not quite there, but they give you enough. They scratch enough of the edge.
But I'm chasing that love. That artificial feeling of love. I am chasing it.
But you know, there's such obviously there's a cringe factor in there, but there is this like anticipation that happens every season where you watch like a villain form.
Yes, and you're like, oh, this is going to be the worst guy ever.
Yeah, and sometimes you think it's one person, but it's someone else. But like by the time the villain forms, that to me is the best part. That's like, oh, now I love this season.
No, that's fun. But also remember, as a female, I am trying to recreate this artificial version of like this fantasy love. And what was it? The couple from season 1, was it Lauren and Cameron? The ones that are like still together and like they were so in love and you like felt it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, I need that again. And I never felt it again. And I'm like, you have to give this to me. I need this.
Chasing it. I just find sometimes in that show, for anyone who doesn't, but the whole premise is they meet each other on the other side of, they go on dates.
They're
with people
basically in a church confessional with a priest.
Yeah. Right. And the other person's on the other side, and they go on multiple dates. They pick one, they propose without seeing the person, and then they meet them and all this shit. But like the moment, sometimes you could just go, oh, this person's hyping them up. This is one of my favorite things that happens on the show. When a person hypes themselves up physically, and then you're like, they're not going to like the way you look.
Yes.
You just know, you're like, they are going to. You just said you look like whatever, Megan Fox. That was what you just said this, and you don't.
Right.
And now this person's going to meet you, and then the person has to. I'd imagine in that moment where they meet the person, they got to go like, remember there's a camera on me. Remember there's a camera on me.
Well, that's what they're doing, and you see them just get so upset.
Right.
But it's like, hey guys, love is blind. Remember? The whole point is that you're supposed to fall in love with an uggo. Now, what I want on this show is I want uglier people.
Yeah. Well, so I do.
Everyone's pretty conventionally attractive.
I do feel like some seasons they kind of go all in or like okay on some.
No.
seasons,
I want real uggos.
But where everyone's, or just like half of them.
I want half of them to be pretty ugly.
So when they meet, you're
and
like,
you know
oh.
what? I want, to be honest with you, I want the girls to be ugly. Because I feel like you could, as a woman, you could fall in love with an ugly man very easily.
Yeah, sure. That's true.
I love an uggo.
Yeah. There's
a man having an ugly partner is usually less common.
Yeah, and also they are so bad at like the lie.
Well, that's the thing. The man, a woman can put it on a little bit thicker, and a woman can grow in attraction and grow in love. Blah blah blah. Right.
Right.
I think a man is like, yo, she's gross, and like that's it.
You'll never get over that.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never, no matter how good she is for him, he will never quite.
Right. He'll never love her all the way because she's ugly, and it's like, I want to see that. I want to see that.
Yeah. It's, but yeah, that's true. I
want to see guys that are very conventionally handsome and know it.
Mm-hmm.
Date ugly women, or I mean, less attractive women. I want to see a bunch of 10s date some 4s. Let's go.
But they'll just do that thing where then they, throughout the relationship, they just make up a bunch of other reasons.
Doors locked. You can't leave.
Oh, they can't go.
It's an escape room with no escape.
I like instead of like love is blind, it's like love is a prison. I like that.
Love is, this is terrible.
Stay there.
It's called This Is Terrible.
Stay there until you love this person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You do not come out until you're like, you know what? I know those teeth are all over the place, but
right.
The shows are so the dating one specifically, because then there's like when that one goes off, there's like Ultimatum.
I don't watch Ultimatum. I heard it's pretty good.
It's the same vibe. You know, it's the same, but it's what's the hosts Nick Lachey and Vanessa Lachey, they also host that thing.
Oh, okay. So it's the same
and thing. It's the same fucking thing, which is great because you get to watch Vanessa Lachey have a nervous breakdown 2 seasons of a year.
Yeah, it's like I like those shows. The problem is that I podcast so much and I podcast about these shows that I actually have grown to really not enjoy. That Love is Blind is like my brain vacation. It's like where I enjoy myself. And the only other show that I watch for I watch Married at First Sight for my pleasure, for my viewing pleasure. And my favorite show in the whole world ever in the history of the earth is Love After Lockup.
Oh, I've not watched that one. I feel like that's one I can get on board with.
So the best thing about this, so I've been watching Teen Mom for, I don't know, 16 years now, right? It's on 16 years, I think.
Wow.
The problem is that they're following the same people and they're getting more and more money and they're getting notoriety.
She's in her 30s now?
Yeah. And they're getting,
I didn't realize that.
Like, nothing's wrong. They're just creating their own hell. But like, as far as like, no one's starving to death and,
there's
they
like
all
people
have
with
cars.
regular jobs and shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Love After Lockup. I mean, this is real bottom of the barrel. They never really get any money and it never gets any better. I mean, everyone just winds up back in jail.
Yeah.
I mean, this is real unfortunate situations. And I mean, how many people have died from that show? It's so good.
How many people have died from that show? It's so good.
And it's like, this is.
I do love a prison documentary. You know,
I mean, this is better than a prison documentary.
But so this is them exploring relationships after.
Well, here's the thing. There's love after lockup. There's life after lockup. There's love during lockup. So here's the basic premise of all of these shows is that they have met someone who's incarcerated and now they're going to be getting out. It's very close to the release date. And so that's love. Love after lockup is like as they get out.
It's almost 90 Day Fiance, but prison.
Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
like it's like before the 90 days. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's like,
like
a lot of them are either meeting for the first time at the release or meeting for like they've gone to visit them while they're in jail and they're living their lives with them. It's not like your husband went to jail and you're waiting out his sentence and then he was out. Yeah.
This is you met them.
This is a lot of times. This is a new relationship. Either they met prison pen pals. I mean, there is a woman there. Oh God, I love her so much. She's a terrible person. She had a baby with a guy. The guy went to jail. And the guy like didn't step up as a father. I mean, he's in jail. I don't know what you want him to do. So she falls in love with his cellmate and marries his cellmate and draws up the documents and the cellmate adopts her son. And then he gets out of jail and he's her husband. I'm like, this is.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
But you know what that is? That's just prison shit. Like,
but here's the thing. I didn't grow up like that. So this is like. Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
This is newer to me than you think.
Are these like what are the felonies that they're like? Are these murderers? Are they?
I mean, it's a lot of drugs, a lot of robberies,
robberies, assaults, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's not a lot of like it's not lifers.
Right. Yeah. Sure. There's people that are getting out.
Armed robbery. Like it's not good. Drugs, armed robbery. Everyone's relapsing when they get out, and I got to tell you, I am here for it. I watched for the first time a man punch another man in the face on live TV, and he got actually knocked out.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I was like, this is so good.
There is something, not like in a boxing match or UFC or something like that. There is something about watching real people get
in the wild. That's what I'm saying. Like this was like a real actual street fight, and he went over, he clocked him in the face, and the guy laid on the floor and was asleep.
Yeah, they start snoring.
This is great.
They're snoring on the sidewalk.
That was real. I didn't know that was possible.
I saw that in real life once. I was at a bar in Long Island.
God, so good, right?
It's just such a Long Island thing to happen. They like everyone who lives in Long Island knows a person who got punched into a sleep.
Oh yeah.
And, they're like wearing some shitty Tattered Islanders hat, and they said the wrong thing to the wrong person. They get fucking.
Oh, it's always over sports too.
Yeah, or over sports, or like
girl.
Over actually nothing. No, you know what? I feel like maybe sometimes, but I feel like it's actually not even that. It's usually like a bump into each other.
Right.
It's like literally
excuse me.
Nothing happened.
Right.
I got jumped once in a club in Queens, at a nightclub in Queens, because
what are you doing in a nightclub in Queens?
Well, I grew up in Queens.
Yeah, but what are you doing in a nightclub in Queens? I grew up in Queens too. I mean, it's not.
Yeah. You shouldn't. And I bumped into someone, and then I was going up the stairs, and he like pulled me back, and I thought it was just him, and I pushed him, and he went tumbling down the stairs because he was on lower than me,
Right.
So he just went flying back, but I had no idea that all the people around me were his friends.
Oh,
they all just fucking jumped on me.
Was this at Metropolis? Where were you?
No, DNA. The story.
Yeah, sorry. Listen, that's
Metropolis.
on you.
Metropolis
that's on you, buddy.
was Stab Central. That was.
Well, it depends what night you go. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like you went to DNA.
Depends on what night you go. There's a lot of stabbings if it depends on what night you go. Oh, it depends. There's not that was Wednesday. That was a Wednesday crowd.
It's a Wednesday stabbing. I get it.
And I left that place with like fucking foot. I had a white, button up shirt, and I had like foot marks all over my shirt. And I was
got stomped.
Legit got stomped. And I was just like hovering. I was literally by myself.
Oh.
And in that moment, and but like again, that was nothing actually happened. It was maybe a bump.
Sure.
And I've seen, so there was a bar in Long Island once where this guy, I don't know how the fight broke out. I just all of a sudden I'm watching this fight. I mean, like we're all getting kind of like bumped into, and this guy gets hit so goddamn hard where they fall They go from this to this.
Yeah, that's what happened on the show.
There's no fall. There's just like somehow they go from this to this.
Yes, I'm telling you, I was intrigued by this. I watched it 400 times. I just kept fast forwarding, rewinding. I'm like, this is crazy.
You don't have to. You could just go to just be in Queens. It happens.
I'd rather watch.
You got to. You have to value your own life too.
Yeah, it's like
much more fun on the.
It's not worth going to DNA, you know.
No, it never was.
Where did you grow up in Queens? What neighborhood?
So I grew up. I was born in like Ridgewood, Ridgewood, but then I grew up for many years in Howard Beach, which is like right,
I'm very familiar.
It's not surprising.
We'll talk offline.
It's not surprising that someone named Carmelo Bongiovi grew up in.
Right. I
could. Wasn't Howard Beach? It would have been Staten Island.
There was two options. One of them was Ridgewood. One of them was Howard Beach. And here we are hitting all of the options.
I went from one to the other. Yeah, but my parents were just like, "Oh, this isn't Italian enough anymore." And
right, and then you're like, "Well, at a certain point, I am going to have to move to South Jersey."
No, you know what? I have not made that. So I'm in Westchester, and I've not made the move to. I do the podcast in Jersey, but I've not made the move to Jersey. But I feel like that is the move.
That's the next move.
Or
you're getting closer.
No, also, Long Island is the other move.
Yeah, but you're too close to Jersey. You're already doing the podcast there.
Yeah, but then then I live too close to Ken.
No, it's going to be good for you guys.
It's going to be good for us. Well, I have a 4-year-old, so my whole living situation now is no longer like where I want to live. It's
right.
like
where the best schools are.
Best schools, and what's a neighborhood that'll keep her busy? Like, are there a lot of farms here?
Right.
Like where can
we have a play group or something? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, where are there a bunch of moms that hate each other that I can?
Well, you got to find the groups on Facebook. That's where you find.
That is where they happen.
A good mom group is priceless.
That's one way to describe it. And it's like, but that is, that's my daughter's, like sort of friend group. And we were talking offline. We got a dog.
Yes, I know. This is the most exciting part of my life for you.
Is my dog.
Yeah,
that is a cute fucking dog.
You were like, do you want to do the podcast? And I'm like, not really. And then I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah,
this guy has a puppy.
You confirmed the day after I got the dog. You were like,
literally. I'm like, is this your dog?
Yeah, that is a puppy. That is a brand new.
Oh, what a beautiful little baby.
Yeah. Well, it's a great, cute puppy, but it's like when you go through the whole like infant to toddler.
When you have a puppy, I'm going to tell you something because I've had 2 puppies in my life. Mm-hmm. When you have a puppy, it's the cutest thing in the world. You're like, there is no way that I cannot have this puppy. I need this puppy in my life. And then you get the puppy and you're like, I have made a terrible mistake.
Yeah.
So this is the worst idea that I've ever had in my life. And this is never going to end.
That's the way you think with kids too.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. That's why I don't have any children, because I would bring my kid to the firehouse immediately.
Yeah. Because the puppy,
you could actually just kind of create it, like put it into the kitchen with a wee-wee pad and kind of just hope for the best.
Yeah. And you know what puppies turn into? Dogs.
Just regular dogs that sleep on the couch all day long.
You know what fucking babies turn into? People.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's not good. And it takes a really long time for a kid to turn into a person.
Yeah, but in any version of a person, like what's so great
not
about
great.
It's people.
Yeah, kids not for me. Puppies, absolutely. Yeah, no, God bless.
And my hard line on pets is only dogs. Like I'm not a cat person. I have a motherfucking fish tank in here because that was my daughter's. It was like her potty training reward.
She needs to dream bigger.
Yeah, well, it was our consolation prize because we weren't ready for the dog.
How old was she when she was potty trained? I mean, she should have been into a little bit more luxury niche items or something.
Well, yeah, she's like 3. So when she turned 3, she started potty training, and she did it really quick.
3? Yeah, okay. I mean, she should have been in the know.
Well,
it's like, don't you have TikTok, kid?
Yeah, she should. She start making some fucking income. But like, we get this fish, and the problem with having a fish is that it's not the fucking fish. Like,
what do you do with it?
Well, it's not. Yeah. You don't do anything with it, and then also all the work. I was talking to Ken about this. Like, all the work you do is not for the fish. It's the fucking
right. Yeah, you're just cleaning water all the time. You're like you basically work for the DEP.
You're a plumber.
Your filtration systems are constantly being updated, and you have apparently there's something in it that's very big, and that's it.
Ken said to me, well, if you find taking care of a fish hard, then like what are you gonna do with a dog? I'm like, no.
Yeah, but you could hug a dog.
Exactly. Like, okay, my dog got sick. She had an allergic reaction to one of her vaccines, right? Face blew up. I was like, oh God, I'm going to lose this dog in the second week ever. Whatever. She needed Benadryl and steroids.
Sure.
And
that's so sad.
But automatic fucking heartbreak.
Of course. If those fish die, you don't care. You'll flush them down the toilet.
I could go flush them down alive right now and I would have zero remorse. I could take them all alive and just go, I don't want to do this anymore.
See, this is how I feel about kids. My friend called me. I'm going to tell you a terrible, terrible thing. My friend called me. She said that her kid is, I think, 14 months or no, it wasn't. Okay, wait. This was her niece is like 14 months and not walking yet.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here's the thing. I'm not like, I don't know what, like, even you were like, I potty trained my kid at 3. I'm like, isn't that supposed to be like 6 months or 12 years old? I don't know. I would never know how old your kid was or what it was supposed to do. Because how would I know? Why would I know that?
I have ulcerative colitis. I might still shit my pants right now.
There's no way to know.
There's no way to know.
So 14 months not walking. I don't know if that's good or bad. I think it's fine though.
And there's
You're a dad, right?
No, yeah. There's like
milestones.
There's miles, but there's delay. Like there is what is like early and then later.
But
and
like
you're still in the range of it's okay.
Sure. And I said to her,
14 months is still fine.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't care if this kid's head fell off. Why are you telling me this?
You said that to her?
Yeah. I was like, I don't care. Like, I just don't care. If you would have told me just now, you told me about your puppy vaccine. I do not like that story. That makes me upset.
Yeah. Well, there's something that
I'm so glad your dog's okay. Like, that's how I feel.
Oh, it was fucking hard.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like, now I'm upset.
She's like, oh my God, my dog's dying.
If I would have if I would have known that when it was happening and you would have told me, I would have checked on you every hour. When people tell me their kids are sick, I'm like, please don't ever talk to me ever again.
Yeah. Like, how about now I know to stay away from you and your fucking gross kid.
That's the exact thought that. Yep, I put it in a folder in my head, and I'm like, never see him ever again. Don't touch him in public.
Your kid has the Coxsackie virus.
Nope, that's gross.
Sores on the bottom of their feet, on their hands, and inside their mouth at the same time.
Throw your kid away.
That's the leprosy. Get that.
Throw your kid away.
Well, parents get so deep into. I'm guilty of it, but get so deep into because it's a mind fuck having a kid. They get so deep into it that they forget that
no one cares.
They forget that they didn't care. Fucking 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Like,
right, because we're all so selfish. I'm telling you, I totally get that because if I had a kid, and I was just telling this girl that I know that gave birth, right? She's like, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened, like ever in the history of the world. And I'm like, listen to me. If I had a baby, I would act like I was the first person to ever give birth and no one else could ever understand my experience.
Yeah. Right.
Because I would be so self-important about it. That I'd be like, look at what I created a life. Hello?
Yeah, I'm a fucking magician.
Am I a magician?
Yeah. And also I'm kind of Jesus Christ because I've suffered for your sins.
Thank you. And that's how I would feel. I would be on my high horse about it. That's why I can't do it. I can't do it for the sake of the world because no one is going to be able to handle me if I had a child.
Right. Because you know what actually the case is that every mom who goes through child labor in their world, they are the only one because
but every person's been born.
And no one gives a shit. No one wants to hear it.
No one cares.
People talk to moms like it's your fucking job. Like people are so disrespectful to moms.
Yes.
Like, people are like, yeah, well then why'd you have a kid? So like moms don't even say that. Even if they're like want to talk about like,
I would never let it go.
Yeah.
I would be online at the grocery store going like,
your whole
hello?
Identity.
Do you know what I did? I have a child at home.
Yeah. Someone's paying for a watermelon. You're like, that's about the size.
Yeah. That was inside my body and I made it. I made it. It didn't even use my brain. My body just made it on its own. Isn't that crazy?
Right. That's there's a thing during child labor called the Ring of Fire.
Oh, I know about it.
Yeah. With the shoulders.
Another reason why I'm not having a child. You're hitting all of the points.
All of them.
Saki, Ring of Fire. Next.
Oh yes, because parenthood is fucking
not for me.
Gross.
Not for me.
It's gross. It's all these great things, but it's
not for me. I will flush a kid down the toilet.
Yeah, well, right, like a fish. They want, but you know what? They don't fit. I've tried. They don't fit.
You need like an industrial. You need what's that called? The flushometer.
Then you really have to call the fucking plumber.
You know, when you live in like an old apartment building and they have like, there's no toilet tank. It's just the handle that goes on the wall. I think it's a flushometer, right?
You need you need like an airplane type suction.
In a very big hole. Wow. I think we're just talking about abortion, but
this is a thing that it doesn't exist anymore. It did exist. Well, Tracey, thank you for coming on and talking about all the various ways to kill kids. But no,
yeah,
all the
I got you.
I mean, that's where it should end.
That's my specialty.
It's kind of your niche. It's not reality shows. Your niche is DIY abortion.
Not being a parent. It's not even that. It's just not avoiding being a parent. You can leave at any time, Sue. That's the greatest part. You're the dad.
I know. I just had this conversation with the mom.
You could leave and you could do an every other weekend, and what a hero you would be.
And it's so fucking true because you're right.
If you're on time for those visits,
right? You're like, people praise you.
So you have the regular child support, and then like buy her a pair of sneakers every other. What?
Oh yeah.
Talk about Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Here you are.
I got my daughter a pair of Jordans. Like,
what?
That's out of the way.
Wow.
It's like, meanwhile, I was just already buying Jordans for me. I just got matching ones.
You're like, whatever. It was 2 for 1.
This is gonna air somewhere in mid-March. Do you have anything you want to plug? Any dates or anything like that?
I'm on tour right now with Little Mo Mozzarella, who is hilarious. His life experiences, I got to tell you, I do have to say this. The material that he writes is very true.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so funny. He tells me stories that I'm like, no, it has to be realistic. And he's like, no, this happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't believe this. He is so funny. He's so great. He's selling out across everything. TraceyCarnazzo.com for tour dates. We're doing a full Northeast tour. And right now we should be in the middle of it.
Awesome. It's a bit too much podcast on all the socials. Like, follow, subscribe, comment, blah, blah, blah.
Right. So we have 90 Day Fiance Trash Talk, Teen Mom Trash Talk, Catfish Trash Talk. Everything is at TraceyCarnazzo.com. If you want to follow me on social, it's Trixie Tuzini, TrixieTuzzini, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, but TraceyCarnazzo.com for everything podcast related, everything comedy related, everything me related.
Thanks so much. It was a great time.